So what is inside a Zurich Target Dated Fund? Why is picking investments in your retirement and education savings plans so hard? Maybe it's because your perspective changes over time. When we're young, we have years ahead of us, so we can take more risk as we weather the typical ups and downs of the equity markets. But as we get older, we can actually imagine ourselves reaching our target dates. We typically start thinking about reining in the risk to help protect our savings. Target dated funds seek to do just that. They offer a diversified mix of equities and bonds that rebalances over time. Let's take a look at how the Zurich Target Date Funds work. Each target date fund invests in a wide range of assets, which helps to spread risk. Importantly, the amount invested in equities decreases over time, and more of your money is invested in lower risk investments like bonds. So, if you have quite a while until your target date, such as retirement or taking income to pay for your kids' college fees, the fund starts off more adventurous, with your money given the best chance to grow. As you get closer to your target date, your investment risk will reduce. We call this the glide path. Until the final few years before your target date, the fund will be taking a cautious approach with your money. This locks in any growth made in the early years and reduces the potential for big falls just before your target date. So how do we build a Zurich Target Dated Fund? Where do we start? You've probably heard the expression, don't put all your eggs in one basket. The problem is, that only tells half the story. You may not only need more than one basket, you may also need more than one kind of egg, at least when it comes to your investments. Think of it this way. In the long run, equities may be a good investment, but the equity market has up years and down years. So do cash and bonds. Very often, when one kind of investment has a down year, another may have an up year. By putting together a mix of cash, bonds, and equities, and even different kinds of stocks from across the globe, ups and downs may be less extreme, and that helps create a less volatile experience. The good news is, target date funds manage this mix automatically. Target date funds use diversification in two ways. First, they consist of a mix of investments and can include international exposure. Then they change that mix as your target date approaches, investing heavily in equities in the early years, but getting more conservative as time goes on. So what is a glide path and how does it work? As time goes on, the glide path automatically reduces the equity mix and adds in more conservative investments designed to preserve your hard-earned savings. As it gets closer to the fund's target date, the glide path arrives at an investment mix that's designed to support the next part of your investment journey. So how does the glide path work when you reach your target date? In the Zurich Target Date Funds, the asset allocation at your target date has dropped to 30% in equities and 70% in bonds. You may think that this equity exposure seems high. We believe that equities have a role to play in the long-term growth of a portfolio. For example, when you're in retirement, you may still need growth from a portfolio to keep up with rising expenses. The key point here is that the equity portion of the target date funds never really goes away. The portfolio is balanced between equities and bonds at all points, aggressively skewed when you're young and you have years to work and earn and take risk. Even when you hit retirement, you should remember that you have a long-term time horizon and you still need growth. The most attractive feature of the target dated funds is the service aspect, where the rebalancing and reallocation happen automatically. So how do you choose a Zurich Target Dated Fund? Zurich Target Dated Funds can help you stay broadly diversified. They also offer the convenience of de-risking the mix of equities and bonds over time. However, for investors, the only responsibility now boils down to choosing one. A useful starting point could be determining when you want to retire or take an income to meet a school fees requirement. All Zurich Target Date Funds include a year in their name. For example, Zurich Target Date Fund 2025. This represents the fund's target date, the year in which the investor would look to retire or look to start drawing down an income to fund school fees. So an investor looking to retire in 2030 might consider the Zurich Target Date Fund 2030. It's really important to look at the asset mix of the target date funds over its life cycle, including when it is at its most conservative. Each target date fund combines a mix of equities and bonds appropriate for someone looking to take an income around the fund's target date.